So I love college football. I love going to these games every Saturday. I don't love being on the road when the game starts, getting back home in time to see the end of the game, and then having to go back and rewatch the game so that I could talk about it better than just listening to it on the radio. And man, was it tough to listen to on the radio this past week.
The Bengals game?
Yeah, I don't want to speak ill of people in media, especially I was listening to our home crowd team, but it was a little rough. It was a little rough around the edges to listen to. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know.
What were they saying?
It was just it wasn't what they were saying, it was how they were saying it. Some of the things just drug on. It's just some weird sayings and weird. I don't know, man. It was hard. It's hard for me to explain, but it just wasn't crisp. It wasn't. I don't know. It just was weird. It just was odd. It was odd. It was odd.
Now, was this during the press conferences after the game or just while the game was happening?
Listening to the game, I was listening to it on Sirius while I was driving back from Michigan.
Got it. So you weren't listening to the usual Dan Horde and Dave Lapham, I don't think?
I plead the fifth.
All right. We're not going to.
I plead
usually.
The fifth.
All right.
I go throw anybody under the bus, but somebody wasn't having the A game.
All right. No, understandably so. And, hey, I think everybody's just kind of worn out and tired because this team is kind of given lackluster performances throughout the whole entirety of the regular season thus far. So that sort of just kind of echoed through the chambers of the fan base as well, too. And I'll even extend that to broadcasting, I guess.
Yeah, it's been a weird year for sure. But let's go ahead and, we got a lot to get into, so I don't want to keep yammering here and not getting into it. We gotta do our recaps as well as our reactions from the Raiders game, as well as talk about this upcoming Thursday night game. So I'm gonna go. We're live here on Wednesday evening. Normally I wait till Thursday to let this puppy loose, but I'm probably just gonna turn it live over on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast, so that you guys can get it as fast as you can, since we're playing that Thursday night game. I gotta be honest with you, I'm a little more excited for this game than I thought I would be. So I don't know. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's get into this first. All right, welcome to Running Through the Jungle. I'm your host, Brandon Herriott, with your host here, Justin, Lacey, and Tim Lyons. Gentlemen, how's it going?
What it do?
Got a game tomorrow, man. Ready to get into it.
We do, but let's touch first on last Sunday's game against the Raiders real quick. Since we did not have the roaring reactions, all my fault. I will take this sword again, but I've got one more week of traveling coming up. So the rest of the season, I'm only going to have 1 week where I have some issues. So we'll figure that one out. Boy, we're making bad teams look bad. That's the good news. We cannot beat the good teams. That's the bad news. So before we get into it, if you got a second here, like us, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Please rate, review us. Give us those 5-star reviews. Helps us a lot. We appreciate you guys rocking with us every week. The Raiders only muster 217 total yards. Like I said, we make bad teams look bad. So Good for us. Only gave up 60 rushing yards, 157 passing yards. I'll kick it over to you first, Tim. What was your take on this game?
Well, I know the fact that T. Higgins was gone and he was out, and I had a feeling that Gesicki was going to step up like I predicted on last Wednesday's show. Somebody had to pick it up. I know Jamar Chase, he only had, what did he have, like 40 or 50 yards, whatever the hell it was last week. But that's because of, the way that they're playing Jamar Chase. What do we expect?
7 catches for 43.
Yeah, there we go.
For some reason, Jamar Chase is now Dr. Bubble Screen.
Yeah, and that's, I was happy that we won. I was. I think that we should have beat them even worse.
Mm-hmm.
But, like you said, we seem to only beat the bad teams. And sometimes these bad teams, we make them look bad, or that we make them look better than what they are. Let's, talk about the Panthers and the Giants. Well, besides the Giants only scored 7 points, but their defense, we made that defense look terrific. But on this recap for the Raiders, Gesicki stepped up. Chase Brown took the number one, running back position over. He played great ball. Joe Burrow out there throwing 5 touchdowns, throw 1 interception. The defense looked decent, looked good. Like I said, I think that we could have done better, and I know Joe Burrow wasn't happy at all after the game. You could just see it in his face. He was pissed off, and I know in the locker room he made a comment of, everybody needs to get right. It's time to get right now, not later, right now. And then with the whole Jermaine Burton situation that happened too, him being a rookie and not participating in games is just a no-go for us. But with T. Higgins being out, and then T. Higgins is probably going to be out this week, somebody's going to have to step up again, because you know how the Ravens like to play Jamar Chase. They're going to double him. So, yeah, it was a win is what I'm going to say. It was a win.
I agree. It was a win. It looked better than what we have recently. But there was still some meat left on the bone as far as improvement goes, for sure. Justin, what was your take on the game?
I've kind of adopted the mindset of Joe Burrow. I'm not impressed with his win whatsoever. I don't care. Yes, I understand Joe threw 5 touchdown passes. It should have been 7. He never should have had the pick 6. It was one that, and we're rewatching the film, it looked like that it was a missed block assignment from Andre Yoshivas yet again.
Whiff.
It's like, dude, you can't do stuff like that. And at first, I put it on Joe Burrow for throwing it too early, because he should have seen him breaking on the ball, like right then and there. But no, it was a missed block assignment. He didn't even touch the guy. So, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I think that Joe Burrow is to the point with this team, this coaching staff, is that you guys need to get on my level when it comes to the intensity, ramping things up. Stop sitting on leads and getting comfortable when things are not. And it was very frustrating, because on Twitter, you heard a lot of people were saying, like, why is Joe Burrow still in the game? And it's 31-10, and it's at the beginning of the 4th quarter. This Bengals team has not earned the right to sit guys late in game, as the games are beginning in the 4th quarter, I should say. This team has not earned that right. I was to the point where they need another score, because then the pick 6 happened. And then I was like, okay, now you have no choice but to stay in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was very frustrating for Joe Burrow too, because it's not even just a woulda, shoulda, coulda when it came to the stat line. It's this constant showing that the offense and the coach staff just always tend to play this sit on the lead and then just coast along to the very end and not put the pressure on them, not put the foot on your neck. That's not going to work when you're going against better teams. That's the reason why you got your ass kicked against the Eagles the prior week. It's the reason why you lost against the Ravens back in week 5. It's the reason why you can't close out games against the Kansas City Chiefs now for the 3rd time in a row now. And I know Joe Burrow didn't play last year in the regular season, whatever. But these are the reasonings behind why the Bengals have been bad this season. To start the season, and they have been sort of middle in the pack. I'm not impressed whatsoever that they made a bad team look bad. You're supposed to make a bad team look bad. But I will say this, though. Trey Hendrickson definitely needs to start being in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. He leads the league in sacks now. I don't know how 11 sacks. I don't know how long he's going to sustain that top of the mountain, whatever. But he continues to show the consistency much other than the guys in the division, his peers, Myles Garrett and TJ Watt, who he has better stats than both of those guys. And yet, for some reason, when we mention Trey Hendrickson's name like he's not a big dog, people still scoff at that. I think that people need to stop that now at this point. Basically, the game was won because of Joe Burrow on offense and Trey Hendrickson on defense, respectively. Spoiler alert, they are going to get my offense and defensive game balls. So that's all I really got to say regarding the Raiders game. There was not much to be, lauded about. This was a team that you should have already blown the doors off of. You did. And that garbage time touchdown to Brock Bowers in the end shouldn't have happened, but it is what it is.
Listen, when I'm looking at the game in recap form here, Tim, I thought, you would be pretty pleased with the 27 rush attempts for Chase Brown, his first game over 100 yards. That's a run a damn ball moment. I feel like if you were being honest with yourself, you'd probably give him the game ball. But since you took Gesicki, I get why you would get. Now, Gesicki not only having 100 yards is great, 20 yards average for a tight end.
And 2
That's
touchdowns.
nice. And 2 tutties. So to me, that 20 yards a clip is pretty impressive. If you listen to Pay Dirt before this, you'd already know that's one of my bets is to have him up over 50 yards receiving against the Ravens. None of us took Trey Hendrickson for our game ball, though. So we'll go ahead and our apologies, Mr. Hendrickson.
Let me say
it won't happen again.
Let me say this real quick, because you two picked the good options when it came to offensive game ball prediction. I, on the other hand, picked Jermaine Burton, and then Jermaine Burton had the meltdown that he did over the weekend prior to the game. And I just got to say this, Jermaine, this was on you. The team it was reported that he had the Bengals, Zach Taylor and all that had a great game plan centered around making him a feature target. And he just couldn't get the small stuff right regarding just showing up to the walkthrough, oversleeping in. And I can't even, it's so well known now about this Jermaine Burton or massacre ordeal, but that could have been yet another thing that could have busted up this locker room to letting them have another letdown. And then to ruin Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, who championed your performances the weeks before and really kind of, put you out there and say, like, look, man, I want this dude on the field. And for you to do that, it's pretty damn disappointing. And now I looked bad because I laid down an iron fist and picked him to be the game ball recipient, and I had every good reason to do that. And it seemed like if everything would have planned out perfectly, he could have been. But at the end of the day, now we just resorted back to this square one moniker of we don't know if we can even trust him to get back on a freaking field now. And that's the disappointing fact, because I'm sure as hell not putting him out there on the field against the Ravens. And I don't even know when he's going to get on the field even shortly after that, because now I think that you got to regain the trust of your whole entire team and in the locker room.
Yeah, there's a lot of, rookies making rookie mistakes, rookies not getting, having, I don't want to say the work ethic, but, not having their things prioritized and getting, there's been that over the league history. But when you start looking at it over the last 5 or 10 years, that don't happen much.
And exactly. It's
these
inexcusable.
These guys are coming out of college, and it is a job already, especially when you're coming out of Alabama.
Yep.
Come on, man. You already know. You played for Saban. You know what it is. Disappointing to say the least. Hopefully, young man, listen, he's got plenty of time to right the ship. He's got plenty of time to work these things out. We just need him to do it sooner than later for this season to be salvaged for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk about those game balls. We'll go ahead and say defensive game ball. Whoops.
Well, it will not happen again, Trey. That was my bad. I know I've been picking you every single week, but I thought I would pick somebody different.
Well,
We
it's
have
just voter
three guys, and none of us picked Trey.
It's
Kinda
like, look, man, it's voters fatigue when it comes to Trey Henderson because that doesn't make for an exciting episode week in and week out.
Yeah.
So I don't blame us.
Listen.
It's like we obviously know Trey Henderson a factor. I think what it is that we're looking forward to now is somebody to step up outside of Trey Henderson. We obviously know Trey's going to be productive. I don't remember who I even picked, to be honest
Chris
with you.
Jenkins.
Chris Jenkins. He did get a sack.
I will say this, and I thought he looked much better. I thought McKinley Jackson looked better.
He did look good.
So I like where we're headed. Our defensive line looks better than I expected it to coming into the season.
They're getting healthier.
Is it great? No, but it is looking better.
Yeah.
But here's where the pick got wronged. You picked Jenkins, Tim picked Pratt, and I, instead of taking Trey at that point, took Pratt as well. Offensive game balls, we've said, Justin had Burton, Tim had Gesicki, I had Burrow. Listen, I think you can make really good arguments here for Burrow, Gesicki, and Chase Brown. All I'm going to say is the offensive AFC FedEx air or ground player of the game is Joe, or player of the week is Joe. So I'm going to say I got it right. But
I
get why you think you did, Tim.
He put that entire team on his back when he had to scrap the plan and losing T. Higgins in the middle of the week as well. And also with the Jermaine Burton disaster that gone on and whatnot. Yeah, he put this team on his back and basically just read the defensive coverage. Again, that's not a good Raiders team and that's not a good Raiders defense. But at the end of the day, he still played very masterful. And the only blemish on his stat line was the pick six that I couldn't even put on him now at this point. As I already mentioned, is a missed block by Yoshivas that would have basically given Jamar Chase like a big monumental gain at that point. But no, for sure, it's definitely Joe Burrow getting the offensive game ball. But I also will honorable mention Mike Gesicki. I'm just really kind of just fathomed why they haven't been using him like this in the past when they had so many opportunities. It's just frustrating.
But you also got to remember the games that Mike Gesicki had good games on. Who was missing out of that lineup?
True, but at the same time, if you want to weaponize the tight end threat, and then not just not having T. Higgins available, and I get that, but you're talking about having a third wide receiver option. It was always should have been Mike Gesicki. Like what was always frustrating to me is that you keep believing in Drew Sample as a starting tight end when he's not. He's already shown you he's not. He's a good blocker in tight end. He's a good team member. I get that. And then I like Eric All, but Eric All hasn't ascended to that full-time tight end responsibility role yet. And damn, it sucks though that he got hurt with the season-ending knee injury, the same one he hurt in college. But it always should have been Mike Gesicki that was the listed starter, and then everybody else has to freaking work themselves back on the field. And that was always my frustration behind it.
I think the reason why they like Eric All is because they like the inline tight end, and Gesicki is more of a
receiver.
Hybrid, he's that hybrid guy, and he's going to play more split off or slot receiver.
And to my point though, Justin, I'm not saying just because T. Higgins is on the field, Gesicki should get more or less targets. It's the coaching staff that's screwing up with using Gesicki. They are screwing this up. If you have T. Higgins and you have Jamar Chase, and you have Gesicki on the field, and whoever in hell else, there should be plenty of options. There should be no reason Gesicki should not be in those plays. If it's not a, we'll say a run play or whatever, there's no other reason Gesicki should not be in that play. So that was my only point. But I also want to make another point if you listen to Who Day Weekly this week, I gave our running back, Chase Brown, the run the damn ball. I was like 27 carries for 120 yards. It's amazing. But another part of me goes like this is we were also up. We were already beating the hell out of the Raiders as it was. So, of course, what are we going to do when we're up? We like to run the ball, run the time out. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it
more
does.
Effective, though.
And it was more effective. So, I am happy that they ran the damn ball this past week.
And I think there was some confidence gained with him too. I don't know how you saw it, but because they kept running earlier in the year. Everything with him was wide, stretch, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
I know he's smaller, but he's mighty, man. And when he hits the A and B gaps and runs the ball in the middle of the field, man, he hits them quick. You just need a sliver.
Yeah.
So
and
that was my
great.
takeaway.
He's great out of the backfield too, and I think that he's a great weapon that we've always been talking about. And it's like, look, I mean, I'm not surprised that Chase Brown went off the way that he did against the Raiders. It adds another dimension and another weapon that Joe Burrow has. That's not only just the receiving target, but yeah, you got to know, you got to watch out for this running game too. If Baltimore they're not getting off easy here with this Bengals game. Before it was like the Bengals, they just couldn't run the ball. I mean, the loss of Zach Moss. I know people are sad about it in terms of, hey, we're going to miss that pass protection ability that he does have, but dude is not explosive. Chase Brown is explosive. And quite frankly,
Khalil Herbert
add the Khalil Herbert into the mix. Now, he may not be the best pass protector either, but at the end of the day, I trust Khalil Herbert's dynamic ability more than I ever trusted Zach Moss. And I think that was a nice little trade pickup that the Bengals basically had to make that trade, really.
I agree.
So with that being said, man, I think that the Bengals running game is due to get better as the season progresses. But how much better, we don't know. That's a wait and see card.
One of the other honorable mention things I want to say about the game plan and how they ran the ball at Max Crosby a little bit, and I thought they did a really good job running on the inside of him and held him to 1 tackle and 2 assists. 0 sacks. So kudos. I think that went about as well as planned. Coach's Cliff's notes. Listen, Tim, you kind of alluded to it already. The Joe Burrow one was definitely more of what I took out of it because he wasn't enamored with things. He wasn't overly happy. Justin, just like you said, the disposition he had is we're supposed to win this game. And we didn't do everything perfectly. And I'm chasing perfection. And I think his message to the team without saying it is, you guys better be ready to come with me on this journey because we're chasing perfection. We're not going to be just happy and status quo of winning a game 41-24 against a team that we should beat. I've had this conversation with several people about, oh, it's not a good look. It's not this. He's disenchanted. He's da-da-da-da. To me, that's the way it should be, man. If you're going to lead by example, and now listen, I still think there's some issues going on behind the scenes with coaching staff and whoever else. But listen, don't be satisfied. Don't be happy. Let's go get it. Be fired up. I'm all good with it, man. I like the way he's leading this team right now. I don't know if you guys, Justin, do you have a different take on that or?
No, I absolutely do not have a different take on it. I'm going to echo the exact same thing that you said. And for the people that are rubbed off by the way that Joe Burrow in his demeanor when it came to Sunday's game and in the press conference and stuff like that, go to hell. This is how I want my franchise quarterback to act because I'm done with the days of the soft speeches and talking about, oh,
all right, looks like we lost one. So we're having some technical difficulties over here with Justin.
Like guys in the locker room. We already. Oh man, am I glitchy again?
Yep, you glitched. You hit the matrix on us.
Oh my goodness, man! I hate when I do that. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
All right, let me try to do this again without messing up. So, thank you guys to our live stream for bearing with us. I'll be quick on this one because I hate tech problems. Anyways, I for all those that pretty much were rubbed the wrong way when it came to Joe Burrow's press conference and his feelings about how the Bengals basically after the win and saying that this team is not good enough. Screw you if you feel some type of way about it. This is exactly how I want my franchise quarterback to operate, especially when a time where it's like they have not arrived. We love comparing it like great athletes, historically great athletes across all realms of sports. And the one that I get and I see on a regular basis is the Kobe Bryant one after being up 2-0 in the finals. And then they say, are you happy about that? Kobe said, what's there to be happy about? The job's not finished. And Joe Burrow basically had that mentality. It's like, Why am I going to be happy about beating this Raiders team when we, first of all, should have beaten them by more? And number two, there's still problems with this offense, whereas I'm doing everything I can. Because, like, even the touchdown throw that should have been to Jamar Chase, that never should have been a field goal. Jamar, I don't know what it was, but yes, maybe the DB made a good play on it and whatnot, but that's a ball that Jamar should have been able to manhandle that against that corner. And Drew Sample didn't get in the end zone that extra push where maybe another player would have. It's stuff like that that is just unacceptable. The game of inches is very marginally thin. There's a reason why we say that for a reason. And Joe understands that. And this team has not been performing good enough, and they got to be better than that. And especially if you're going to want to try to set the standard of being a playoff team, because going on Thursday night against the Ravens, he knows that's not good enough. Like, do better. Coaches, do better. Because before that, when we settled for that third field goal to end up 41 to whatever it was to score, 24. There was a false start. It was at the 1 yard line. It was a false start or a delay of game or something like that. And I remember Joe kind of glanced over at Zach Taylor on the coaching sideline, and he was kind of like mouthing off. And I think he was pissed off too at that. It's like, now I had to accept the penalty because you can't even get the play inside my head. Maybe I'm just reaching or whatnot, but it's all just screams down like Joe is just annoyed with us not being on the P's and Q's. Like, he didn't even want to look at his coach when he dapped him up after his 5th touchdown pass. Like, this is where I'm at too with this team. And that's where I want the rest of the team to kind of get on that level, because this is how they've been performing is just not good enough. And I'm taking that mentality too.
Yeah, Tim, listen, there's a guy that I have been very fond of for a long time that used to yell and scream and throw the Microsoft pads and all that kind of stuff when they weren't playing well and get into his teammates' face and stuff.
Yeah.
And I see some Tom Brady and Joe Burrow similarities on certain things of how they run with expectations. They take care of themselves. They go to bed early. They're all about their terror. This is a business. It's all about business during the season for him. I don't think he's handling it I don't think this is a negative thing by any means. I haven't seen him jump down anybody's throats. He just simply calmly says, I expect more. I mean, do you see it any other way?
When it comes to Joe Burrow, the way that I have been watching him in his conferences these last couple of days, it's a different level Joe Burrow right now. He wants to win. He wants the team to be on the same page that he's on. You know, he wants to make sure that, you know, he made that comment the last time we played the Ravens was, you know, we have to be perfect. He wasn't just saying him. He said we have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that expectation from Joe is going to keep going, because honestly, the way I look at it is this is, and this is the outside looking in, I don't think Joe Burrow is 100% confident in his coaches. I really don't. I feel like
the comments,
right? Exactly. I have a feel. I just feel like the comments that Joe makes, they're not particularly to the team. They're to the coaches. They're to Zach Taylor. You know, so if Joe Burrow gets to that level of Tom Brady and getting in a player's face and going, hey, you need to get right, or having those conversations with rookies like Jermaine Burton saying, you need to get right, this is your job, or hey, Jamar Chase, why didn't you catch that pass that I threw to you that should have been a touchdown? Or hey, Zach Taylor, why are you calling checkdowns or sweeps and all this other crap on 3rd and 1s? Why are we going for it and doing a swing pass to Jamar Chase on 4th and 1? I don't have any problem with that. They paid Joe Burrow. They're going to be starting to pay Joe Burrow $55 million a year for a reason. And I'm not saying that Joe needs to be disrespectful, because that's not Joe. I don't see Joe ever being like that.
Agreed.
But Joe is the face of the franchise. I don't care what anybody says. Joe Burrow is the face of the franchise. If it's not going the way that Joe thinks it should be going, what do you think is going to start happening? There's going to be some coaching changes. There's going to be some personnel changes. It's going to happen. Look at Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to compare Joe Burrow to Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers, you know what? If shit don't go the way that he wanted it to go, stuff got changed.
Well,
Tom
here's
Brady,
the thing.
same way.
If we don't see those things starting to happen, then we're going to see what happened with Carson Palmer.
And on top of that too,
Joe wants out.
On a grander scale of like wins losses kind of thing, if we were to lose this game against the Ravens, guess who's the first person going to blame, saying, "Oh, he will never be on the same level or upper echelon of such and such"? They're going to blame Joe, and that's the thing. Like, we're all saying this, preaching the same message here, and overall, it's we like seeing this level of Joe because this is the intensity that we need out of our franchise quarterback when tough times get a little bit rough or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another way how you can elevate those guys around you, especially when you're a little bit bereft of talent in some areas on this roster, like the Bengals are right now, especially on defense. Even though I know that they perform well against the Raiders and other bad teams, this is the Ravens. And we're going to see other offensives down the road too that we thought were bad, but now are not bad. So can this defense stack up and measure up? So time will tell with this as far as like how the duration of the season. But we got a pivotal matchup coming up that's going to tell the whole story of the rest of the season is going to be.
All right, let's get into that pivotal matchup right after we hear from our sponsors. We're going to take a quick break. If you are listening, well, anywhere you're listening, hit us with that like, that thumbs up, that subscribe. Please rate and review us. Give those 5-star ratings. Help us a ton. We appreciate you guys rocking with us each and every week. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors, and we'll get into this Thursday night matchup against the Ravens. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Runnin Thru the Jungle. We have went over our recap of the Raiders game. Now let's get into this upcoming Ravens matchup. Thursday night football in Baltimore. We're pretty much backs against the wall, must win in my mind. Eric All, it's very unfortunate. Torn ACL, like you guys mentioned earlier, Justin, the same ACL that he hurt in college at Iowa. He is going to be out for the remainder of the season, and going into this game, we also have Charlie Jones, doubtful, T. Higgins, doubtful game status right now. I don't see either one of those two playing. Questionable, we have Orlando Brown Jr. and BJ Hill. Two pretty big pieces against this team. I'm not real optimistic about either one of them playing at least a big part or big role in this. Now, all those things said, I thought at tackle, I thought we played fairly decent last week. I wasn't upset with the way our tackles played on offense last week. I wasn't upset with some of the new rookies, I think, stepped up at defensive tackle. So is it enough for the Raiders? Yes. Is it enough for coming into this Ravens game? I don't know. I'd like to have everybody out there. Jordan Battle, a little bit of a nicked up ankle. Would like to see him healthy as well. Joe Burrow going to be on all year with a wrist injury. I love it. I still love it. I'm going to mention it every time. They have doubtful Jalen Armour Davis, questionable Keaton Mitchell, out Brent Urban, questionable Rasheen Ali.
Isaiah Likely is out too.
Yes, Isaiah Likely is out. That is correct. I'm sorry. That actually does kind of hurt them. I kind of want to start with what we looked at here. The first matchup, we were looking at our concerns. We're stopping the run. And in that first matchup, King Henry had 41 yards rushing on 14 carries when he broke the 51-yard rush to end the game, essentially with the overtime win. So I thought we did a pretty good job with that.
Yeah, I agree. But the thing is my concern is.
So what's your concern in this game is what I wanted to say.
It's still King Henry because King Henry is playing ball. He is playing he is. That dude is just. It's King Henry. He's he had his 100th NFL touchdown and 101st touchdown this past weekend against the Broncos. I know it's the Broncos, but our defense is probably worse than the Broncos is, to be honest with you. But I think Henry is heating up a little bit right now. And I'm going to give him his credit where credit is due, because he is a monster of a man. And if he gets that little inch, he's gone. He takes off boot scooting and boogieing for the touchdown, or even a long yardage situations. Let's not forget King Henry can also throw for touchdowns too.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 1,000 yards already this year and averaging 6.3 yards per carry.
Yeah, so it's scary. Look what Saquon did to us. A couple weekends ago. Look what Saquon did. Yeah, we seem to be able to manage. I won't say contain Derrick Henry, but we seem to be able to manage Derrick Henry even when he was with the Titans. And then the last game that we played against them, we seemed to manage against them. But let's not forget, we also have Lamar Jackson, who likes to run around and do all kinds of stuff too. But there's a caveat to this, is what I want to say is that Lamar Jackson was on the injury list because of a knee injury or knee soreness or knee something. Last week, Lamar Jackson only ran, I think it was 4 yards last week against the Broncos, which is very unlikely of him to ever do that. When do you ever see Lamar Jackson sit in the pocket and only run for 4 yards in a game? So my question, when's
he ever been able to?
Exactly. So maybe the offensive line was just playing great, playing great, and they were protecting him, giving him enough time just to sit.
They handed the ball off 23 times to Derrick Henry.
Okay, so they ran the ball a lot too. But, I don't know. I have a kind of a question about that Lamar Jackson knee.
Listen, I said this going into the season. Derrick Henry wasn't the biggest concern I had, because he averages 58 yards a game against the AFC North. And he's played 2 AFC North games. Even with the 51-yard run, he hasn't hit 100 yards against us or Cleveland.
True.
So,
true.
I don't know. Always got to be aware of him. I don't know that he's my biggest concern right now. Justin, concern going in this game, different than the run game from last matchup, or still the same?
Somewhat the same, but I'm also going to echo similar to what you just said, and Brandon. I don't look at Derrick Henry as my number one concern because of the role that he's pivoted to with this Ravens team. Both Lamar and Derrick Henry has proven to be a lethal 1-2 combination, man. They can kill it on the ground, man. So you obviously got to be aware of that. But for me, it's going to be just Lamar by himself. It seems like that this Bengals defense still has not found an answer to containing Lamar Jackson, and that's disappointing. It feels like that every other teams in the AFC North knows how to play Lamar and scheme around his athletic abilities and use that to their advantage. They also have the horses to run with them. And the Bengals just still to this day have not found that answer on defense. And it's just very frustrating because we all give this credit to Lua and Arumo of, him being able to neutralize other upper echelon quarterbacks and stuff, but he hasn't done that yet against the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. And that's very frustrating. So that's my number one concern for me. And it's not because of his dual threat ability to being able to run, but he's evolved as a passer this year too. He is spreading the wealth around like crazy. Zay Flowers has just gone. He's taken off. He's ascended in his second year, almost to the point where it's like they got their own iteration of a Jamar Chase clone on their team. Now, Zay Flowers is not on the level of a Jamar Chase, but he's a damn good receiver. And he is basically just hitting career milestone numbers so far in his second season to the point where he could make a Pro Bowl as well. And he basically just tilt the coverages his way that allows other guys to get open. We're now seeing a resurgence with Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews was a disappearing act the first several weeks of the season. Now these past few weeks, he's come alive now. He's catching touchdown passes again. he's getting good yards and stuff, which is a concern because eventually before, when he wasn't producing and it was Isaiah Likely you had to focus more on, now Isaiah Likely is out and Mark Andrews is here. And now they also got their guy, Charlie Kolar, as their third tight end that can also catch passes. Caught a long one against us when we played him in week 5. And Derrick Henry, like I said, he is a concern, obviously, but you look at him as a concern, more of a closer. When the game gets close and the Bengals have just been beaten up on, that he can be the one that can close the game out on you like he did against us in overtime with that 51-yard run. But for the most part, I think the Bengals will prepare themselves well to be able to, neutralize the threat of the Russian attack. But at the end of the day, you still got Justice Hill, who who throws a much more concerning matchup because of his speed to be able to break on the outside and, cut upfield a little bit more. And if they get Keaton Mitchell back, that can spell another matchup concern as well, too. I don't think he's going to do too much, being that he's coming off of his own injury. But they don't really need him, honestly. It's just Lamar and the rest of the offense. They're clicking on all cylinders right now, and the Bengals are just not good enough defensively to stop anybody unless you're a bad team and proving that you're a bad team. But you get your second crack at this Ravens team on offense, and realistically, Lamar had to make a couple of several great magical plays that you think they were just miracles to be able to will his team to a Ravens victory. You kind of think that doesn't fall in the favor of this second time around, but at the end of the day, the Bengals defense just got to show me that. They do get Mike Hilton back. He wasn't in the week 5 game. That did pay a lot of dividends because Mike Hilton was just a behemoth of a man in the slot and just a great tackler. Before, the Bengals just wasn't tackling anybody, so it was just very maddening. Now, this time around, I think that the Bengals have done a solid enough job with tackling. But again, they still got to show it for me to feel confident or even to think that they can handle what this Ravens offense has been doing.
All right, let's talk about opportunities for this game. Tim, what's the biggest opportunity you see for the Bengals here in this second matchup with the Ravens Thursday Night Football?
Well, our last matchup, it was proof that the Ravens secondary wasn't the Ravens secondary that we've, are used to, with Marlon Humphreys and Kyle Hamilton and all that shutting everybody down back there too. So I think our biggest opportunity is as long as we can give Joe Burrow the time and the protection, I think Joe Burrow can have he can carve up that secondary again. I think he can throw for over 350 yards on Thursday. That would be our biggest opportunity. But, I was going to say the run game, but the Ravens seem to, they do a pretty good job stopping the run. And I know they've don't allow as many, run yards as they do passing yards. So, but yeah, I would say the passing game could be a big opportunity against that Ravens secondary. I know they added, I don't know who the hell it was, some cornerback that they just added yesterday. I can't remember who the hell it is.
They had a Tre'Davious White.
Yeah, Tre'Davious White. So, but he probably won't play tomorrow anyways. But I think that would be the greatest opportunity for us. Then on the defensive side of the ball, Trey Hendrickson. I'm just going to say it, Trey Hendrickson. I know he's going to be going against Ronnie Stanley, a veteran left tackle out there. It's going to be veteran versus veteran, but I'm not going to underrate, Trey Hendrickson like the media does. Nobody ever mentions Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson's a dog. He has his moves. He will apply as much pressure as he can on that left tackle and try to get free. So, I'm going to say, like I said, I'm going to say our passing game, and then Trey Hendrickson for defense.
That bull rush that Hendrickson had last week was just brutal,
insane. That was
brutal.
That was that. I kept watching it on repeat.
Yeah. Hey, I almost felt bad for that guy. I didn't, but I almost did. Justin, what do you think? You agree with Tim, or what's your biggest opportunity here for the Bengals against the Ravens?
Look, I'm going to be honest. I'm not really feeling confident in this game. I don't feel like there's a lot of opportunities across the whistle just because I think that the Ravens are a better team overall, head and shoulders better than the Bengals. I just do. And the only opportunity that I do believe that we can exploit is the passing attack, like Tim mentioned, and that Joe Burrow just got to be an MVP candidate. Like he's playing like an MVP level, and I think that I'm trusting in him and how he processes things. But even then, that still doesn't always mean that it's going to work in our favor, when it comes to a division opponent on the road in this same environment that you are pretty much a true candidate to lose these type of games, because the Ravens in this spot are really dangerous. They didn't even have to play their best ball this year to even be in this spot to understand that. And the Bengals are not going to have T. Higgins. We're assuming that he's not going to have T. Higgins. So that doesn't bode well of just coverage rolling over into Jamar Chase direction and asking other people to beat you, when realistically we don't know if anybody can be able to sustain good play like we saw against the Raiders against this Ravens defense, albeit the Ravens defense are struggling too with better players, might I add. But I just get this gut and this pit in my stomach and feel like that, man, while we believe that the opportunity is Joe Burrow, throwing it to Jamar and throwing it to, Mike Gesicki and the other weapons and stuff. Look, I got to be able to see the consistency to be able to feel good about that. I will bring out this because I get it. The Ravens are good against the run, but that doesn't mean that they can't be had. The Bengals just got to draw better run schemes. They just haven't been able to do that consistently. But I think that they found something with Chase Brown carrying the monstrous loads like he has been carrying. And if Khalil Herbert plays, I think that is a secret opportunity and an X factor that the Ravens are not going to be prepared for, because they're probably going with the understanding of, well, they need Joe Burrow to throw 100 times to win this game, when reality is that we kind of can run it too if we just stick and commit ourselves with it and don't be scared to get bully and get nasty on our offensive line against their defensive line. Their D-line is not having a great season whatsoever. Like Nnamdi Madubuike, their $100 million man, he's been inconsistent this year. Odafe Owe has not been up to expectations for them this year. And Travis Jones, he's coming off of injuries and stuff like that. He's been inconsistent. They would hope that they would like to get a nice play from him. But at the end of the day, the Bengals can't be scared to run the ball against this Ravens front. You can respect their run defense, but don't fear it. And I believe that Chase Brown has the ability to make good yards against this Ravens team if the Bengals can drop a proper scheme. But then that means that you believe in the coaching staff for them to do that. I don't know. But I do trust in Joe Burrow to be able to get this team and the offense in the right spots. And I think that's the opportunity that you got to work with for now.
So, yeah, they've given up the third fewest. The Ravens have given up the third fewest rushing yards in the NFL this season, 680 or something like that. But they've given up over 2,700 yards passing, which is the most in the league. I agree with Tim. I'm going to roll that right into my game balls. And I'm going to give you this, Justin. I think you were a week early trying to give Jermaine Burton a game ball. Obviously, he did not get addressed because of, well-published issues he's had. But when asked if he's planning on playing him this week, Zach Taylor said, yeah, plan on him being a part of the game plan. That's what we're working him towards. So I think he's going to make a couple big splash plays. Do I think he's going to get the game ball? Nope. I reserve that for Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow has over 300 and has 4 tutties. So I'm giving Joe Burrow my game ball, but I'm giving special mention. I think Burton makes a couple of big plays, big splash plays. So
do you think he gets in the end zone?
I do.
I like that.
I think he gets touchdown. And you know what? I think it's one of those. I think this is an opportunity where Joe says, look, we can't do things like that. Listen, you're talented. You're my guy. You're coming. I'm going to give you an opportunity here. You need to go out and take it. And I think the kid's got the moxie to go take the opportunity. So that's what I'm rooting for. Tim, I'm going to throw it right over to you. Offensive game ball. Who's your pick?
Joe Burrow, 350 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Oh, Trey 5.
Yes.
Ah, a little Trey Cinco.
I like it.
All right.
Look for me.
Shoot.
I'm going to go with Joe Burrow too, just because I just feel like I just feel like that he's just on another level right now. It can either go good or it can go bad, obviously, but I think that if it's going to go down, he ain't going down without swinging. And I feel like that he's the best guy to be able to win this ball game. I want to say honorable mention Jamar Chase as well, too, just because he has great performances against Baltimore, too. But with T. Higgins being out, and I don't know what to expect out of Jermaine Burton right now, I'm glad to hear that you're showing your confidence about the potential opportunity there. I don't know if we're going to get consistency out of our tight ends again on another week-to-week basis. I don't know. I would like to say Jamar, but he's going to get a lot of people on him. So, but I do know that the person that puts everybody in the best places and to be the best reason for everybody to win is Joe. And that's why he's obviously going to be my default game ball recipient. I'm not going to go crazy on the stat line predictions, even though I would love to see 5 touchdowns again, especially on this Ravens defense on the road in their environment. And at the end of the day, you got to stop losing in this team. And I think Joe knows that. He knows he can beat this team. It just, can the rest of the team just live up to that standard too? So, but that's my offensive prediction.
Yeah, I think he's got to throw for those kind of yards. Joe Burrow's different. I keep saying it, man. When I complain about the coaching staff, I complain about the playing calling. I keep going back to, you're gifted this kid. Like, don't screw it up. You owe it to him to go get the things he needs. So I like Joe Burrow. We'll go back to the defensive game balls. Justin, we're going to let you start it off. Who you got for your defensive game ball?
I'm not falling for not picking the Trey Henderson fest again. So I'm picking Trey Henderson. He's the only person I trust on defense anyway. I do think that the Bengals do probably muster up an interception this game. But to me, again, it's a hope kind of thing because the Bengals cornerbacks in the secondary haven't really been great at creating or generating turnovers for that matter. And we already know, like we always say on this show, and everybody says that hope is not a strategy, and I'm not doing that. So I am going to go with Trey Henderson.
You can do the old, you can hope in one hand and poop in the other and see which one fills up first. All right, let's see, Tim, game ball. Are we going to go from none of us picking Trey to all of us picking Trey?
I'm picking Trey Henderson. Come on, let's get right. Trey Henderson's getting my damn defensive game ball. I ain't got nothing else to say. Justin, you said enough. We said enough throughout this whole podcast. Trey Henderson's getting my damn game ball versus the Ravens.
Man. You know what? Trey Hendrickson against the Ravens in the last matchup had 3 tackles, had 0 sacks, didn't get home. I'm gonna say that interception goes to
Mike Hilton.
Jermaine Pratt.
Oh my God.
Give me Jermaine Pratt. I'm gonna take him 2 weeks in a row. I'm gonna get it sooner or later.
Why you gotta ruin everything?
He's
bro?
playing good ball. He's playing good ball.
Care.
He's got 9. Listen, we all 3 picked Joe Burrow. We can't all 3 pick Trey. I'm taking Jermaine Pratt again.
Is there something in Running Through the Jungle's handbook that says we can't all pick the same people every week?
There is. You got to read up on it.
All right, can I at least give an honorable mention? Since again, we've reached this voter fatigue with Trey Henderson, and that's why everybody went different, even though we know Trey is the guy. But my honorable mention is Mike Hilton. I think that he creates enough impact in the slot because he didn't appear in the game on week 5 when he could have made a world of difference. And I believe that he will be the perfect antidote that can neutralize the threat of their receivers in the slot. Like Rashad Bateman. Nobody's talking about Rashad Bateman coming alive for the Ravens too. I think that the perfect antidote for Rashad Bateman, if he's not lined up on the outside, is Mike Hilton. You know, same thing with their tight ends and Mark Andrews and Charlie Kolar, even though they can flex them out and move it in many different packages and ways. But I think that he creates a world of difference for this secondary for me.
All right. Let's get into score predictions. Tim, do you have enough moxie to take the Bengals here to pull the upset Thursday Night Football and what I think is a must-win?
So, if you were watching Pay Dirt, you seen what I said.
You said take +6.
So, I'm taking +6 in the Bengals. The reason why I'm taking +6 in the Bengals is because I believe that this game is going to be decided by a field goal. It's going to go one or two ways. We're going to win by a field goal or we're going to lose by a field goal. But I'm going to think with my heart and my mind. Cincinnati Bengals are going to win this game 31-28.
All right. I like it. Justin, agree, disagree? Do you have your rose-colored glasses on?
No, I do not. And I hate that I'm going this way. I really do, because I want to pick the Bengals to win this game. I want to believe in the intensity and the fire of Joe Burrow. And they have every opportunity to win this game, too. They should have won the Week 5 game. And the Ravens got away with that one. This is a game, though, in this spot. Man, I don't know, man. The defense have not shown me enough consistently that they can slow down an explosive offense like a high-powered offense like the Ravens. And sometimes the offense can get their tire stuck in the mud going against mediocre defenses. I think that Joe Burrow recognizes that this team is still not good enough and may not be there. And we don't know if this is the calling card. They can change everything with me with the win. But look, I think it's the wrong opponent at the wrong time in this spot. And I do think the Bengals do cover the 6. I think that they will at least make it a close game. These AFC North games are always close. I wouldn't even be surprised if the Bengals even take the lead at one point or another, like a couple of lead changes. But I'm also going to settle for the Ravens to win this game, unfortunately. I hate picking against us. But I think the Ravens do win this game. They're just on a heater on offense, 34-30 right now. That's where I feel like it's going to go.
So you're taking Bengals 30, Ravens 34.
Correct.
Can we see my predictions there? See my predictions? I got Bengals 34, Ravens 30.
I love it.
And here's why.
Nice.
And here's why. What we do well is what they're bad at. What we were bad at, we've gotten better at. So our rush defense has gotten better. I like what I'm seeing from that. We're kind of in that middle of the pack, give up 2,000 yards. We've given up over 700 yards less in passing so far than the Ravens. Do I worry about it getting into a shootout? A little bit. Obviously, I'm giving them 30 points, right?
Yeah.
But I think we learn from our mistakes. I think Joe voices his opinions. And when we have that lead, instead of just running the ball against that team that can't, we're not having success running against, instead of getting very vanilla, I think we continue to play. I think it's going to be a 34-24 game. They score a touchdown late, kind of go for 2, yada, yada, yada. So I think we're up. I think we're up 10 in this game late in the fourth quarter.
I'll mention this too. If the Bengals do win this game, they are going to be in the playoffs. They're just going to be the swirling confidence with this team is going to just start to this is the inflection point right here of the season. This is really the do or die. They can lose this game and they'll probably give you a fake win on the road against LA. That game is also flexed on Sunday night, but do you really still feel confident they'll be able to leapfrog other teams to get to that point, knowing that you still got 2 more dates against the Steelers? Meanwhile, Baltimore, they got this game. And then 10 days later, they got to go on the road at Pittsburgh, and they have not fared well. Talk about psyche and all that stuff. They cannot beat the Steelers. Lamar has a bad record against Pittsburgh. So it's either they're going to probably go either 1-1 during the stretch or 0-2. I don't think that they're going to make it out of this stretch 2-0 against 2 back-to-back better division foes, and they already lost one against the Browns, and they got away with one earlier against us. You would like to see the Bengals right the ship on here. I'm hoping you guys are right, but this is just something that a lack of confidence in the things around Joe Burrow.
Totally understandable, man.
That's just where I'm at.
Understandable. And listen, and here's where I'm at with it right now. And this is kind of the last ditch ever, because I watched that Eagles game. I went back and watched it start to finish, and I saw a coaching staff get out coached.
Mm-hmm.
And we absolutely shit the bed in the second half. I look at this. I think they're starting to feel the squeeze. I think Lou Anarumo and Zach Taylor are starting to hear some of the chatter and the jibber jabber I think the front office is starting to hear about it. Diana Rossini was talking about how much the Bengals were out for the first time in her history of her covering the NFL. The Bengals were actively trying to get multiple pieces on defense and a running back at the trade deadline. They were unable to pull it off with the defensive players, but at least they were out there active. I think everybody now realizes, I think that, things are getting, there's a little more sense of urgency. And I think these coaches know that they're coaching for their jobs. Mm-hmm. They need to go out there, be aggressive. Playing that vanilla way is getting you nothing but L's. Go be aggressive. Go put your foot on someone's throat when you got them down and win the game. And that's what I think. And it's the last ditch effort, because if they don't do it here, they should have done it. They had that Eagles game. Joe Burrow was playing quarterback about as well as you can play it in that first half, and they just shit the bed, gave up a defensive score on every Eagles possession in the second half.
Yep.
They've got to do something other than what they've been doing. I think we saw glimpses of it. I think they knew what they could do with running the ball. I think they know what they can do against the Ravens. I know this team way too well. If they don't do it now, I don't think they're going to do it. And I'm going to say sayonara. Go ahead and call the moving trucks. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with this team. I'm giving them my last ditch effort.
Yeah,
I think Zach Taylor seems like a great guy. I need him to stop calling a vanilla offense.
Yep.
I'm over it.
This bottom line is this coaching staff is literally, like I said, when I said the inflection point, it's this game right here. Because if you don't win this game, it's all but done for this coaching staff with this Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor pairing, you're going to start to see the focal point of it being over now at this point on Zach Taylor's end. Because you showing getting rid of Joe. He's the reason why you win. But you can't keep losing games that that Joe can play in this division. Joe can beat these teams in this division. But yet we don't have the coaching team, the coaching staff, whatever, in the repertoire, in the aura to be able to win these AFC North contests when you're better than that. And like I said, as tough as this spot is, if the Bengals do come out and win this game, it is going to be the 100% reason because Joe Burrow is special and that he can get you out of dark times. So that's the only thing that I'm hoping and living on. I've seen him do it. So it's really not a hope, but it's the hope about everything else around him. And I just want to see this Bengals do better than what they've been showing us.
Tim, you got any closing remarks?
I do. I have people, from around here in Washington and my friends down in San Francisco and everything. They're like, hey, do you think that the Bengals are turning it around now? And I'm straight honest to the point with them. No, not if we win this game against the Ravens tomorrow night, it's promising. I'm not going to say it's a turnaround because it's promising. Because let's not forget, we still have to play the Steelers twice. We still have to play the Browns in the remaining of the schedule. So it's promising. If we can beat the Ravens, I think it's a point towards the right direction. But I do support Joe Burrow and what he's doing and what he's saying to the players and everybody around him and even the coaching staff. Get right. It's time to get right. But I want to close off with something positive on my side is I want to tell all the veterans on Monday, November 11th is Veterans Day. And I want to tell everybody, thank you for your service. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for the time that you served this country that gave us the right to live free, to enjoy this football game, to vote and all this other stuff. And we had a vote. We had an election yesterday. I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole different ball game. But thank you, brothers and sisters, for laying your lives on the line and enjoy your Veterans Day. And rest in peace to my brothers and sisters that did not get to come home. But happy Veterans Day.
Justin, anything you want to add?
No, that was a great way to close it out. I've already said my piece regarding this game, and let's just hope that we come out with a dub tomorrow.
I'll say this. I've been pretty negative about the coaching staff, the way things are going. We have been basically on this show for the past several weeks. All those things, I don't want to be Chicken Little, the sky is falling. I do think that Joe Burrow has changed some things, not just for the team, but in the organization. I do think the organization's done a better job of seeing where their deficiencies are, especially in where they spend money, how they spend money, going out and getting the naming rights to Paycor Stadium, a lot of things. Being reports that they were active in free agency, trying to get out, or in trade deadlines, trying to get out there and trade. At least they got Khalil Herbert. I think that's a good addition to this team. I think it's a great addition when you look at it as a 7th-round pick. I think it's a really nice pickup for him. I like that they're doing stuff. I like that it seems like we're looking in the mirror. I'm not all like gloom and doom. I still think the season is salvageable. I still think that the direction of the franchise is going in the right direction. Did we get a little off course? Did we slow down? Absolutely. 100%. But just like Joe Burrow, you can't keep being satisfied. You're not there. And once you get there, you can't be satisfied because you got to stay there. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that go into that and being successful. It's a lot of work to be successful in anything. To be successful in a National Football League, it's a lot. So I like the trajectory. We need, and I think us holding this standard accountable and what we're trying to do and how we're looking at things, I think is a good thing for our show, because I don't think Bengals fans and the media were doing that to this team 10 years ago because the standard wasn't there. I think it's there now. So it's not all, Chicken Little, sky is falling. I think part of the reason why we're being hard and we're being, real analytical about the success and failures of this team is because the expectations have changed. So that's a good thing. Embrace it. Embrace the struggle sometimes. It's kind of worth it. Tim, you enjoy your Veterans Day too. For those of you who don't know, this man did serve. I did not. I played baseball, so whatever. Check us out next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, as we are running through the jungle.